Oh, man.
It's been too long. I don't really have an introduction, but let's just go along.
I have an introduction.
You have information?
No, introduction.
Or maybe not. Or maybe I will. May all just remember Seth Sentry as the breakfast song guy with the strong quads.
Would I?
No. Okay, so let me start again. Welcome to CDR. I am Bryn. This is Matt. This is where we give a very unprofessional opinion. For the last 2 weeks, we have been listening to Seth Sentry's third album, Super Cool Treehouse. It's been 6 years since he's last released an album. This is coming through the pandemic, which was kind of a new strategy in a way to produce an album. The 38-year-old who came up through Triple J's Unearth with the Waitress song, getting into festivals, following around with a bunch of other great hip-hop artists, rappers, who normally likes to come out to his crowd his entrance song is Halo theme song.
Okay, fair enough.
Loves video games and weed, which is pretty much throughout the whole album. The art cover is done by, all his art covers have been done by an artist named Jaggy. Thank God he keeps on because the art is pretty cool. It's almost like the old Nickelodeon TV where the 5 kids had the sick tree house and it was whatever that was. I can't remember. That's a long, long time ago. First album dropped in 2012. This Was Tomorrow. And his brother Sam and him did the animation to Castlevania. By the end of it, they're never going to do this again by themselves. He's also produced all his albums under his own label.
Okay.
High Score Record.
Okay.
During the lockdown, Seth Sentry decided to get onto his Twitch and talk to his fans, ask them to send in music on a Monday, and on Sunday he would come on live and have a rap to it. And then over the course of 12 weeks, he did that straight up for 12 weeks. Some were done by professionals, some were done by amateurs. And some of the songs in this album are straight up from the Twitch, not gone into the studio. Others needed to go be in the studio to refine because where they were, he was traveling, not really traveling around, but they had just sold a house sometime during this dilemma and was moving from house to house with friends. So qualities are bad, and some of them, especially with Blue Shell, you can tell at the very end, he goes, oh, that wasn't bad. Throughout this album is just a hectic amount of video game references.
Yep.
I guess talking about issues from being sad, being depressed, covering it up, and then people trying to diss him and just showing how good his flow really is. There's straight up rap throughout it. It's just rap. There's not a large amount of chorus in there.
Yep.
Maybe just a sentence or two just to reference back to a topic he may want to stick to. My week, I couldn't get enough. I still can't get enough of this album. Matt's not a fan. I was hoping I'm going to change his mind this week.
I don't think it's fair to say I'm not a fan. I just don't think this is an album that I'm going to race out to listen to. It's just not my flavor, unfortunately. But there's enough in here that is of interest. So I was my week with it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad you warmed up to it. Probably not enough to get you over the line.
Yeah, lukewarm.
Oh, you're sending fires? Sending pictures of little fires?
Maybe.
But it's lukewarm. See? From
Very
the
good.
album. It's amazing. There's so much clever stuff in it, Matt. I don't care about look, the music was sent in by fans, so you got to say this is at least a cred to be able to work around what may be professional or amateur worked beats.
Sure, but I still want it to be interesting on some level. And I guess, and I know that your argument might be there are times that the music interplays with the lyrics. And there are times where that happens, but I don't think it's often enough for it to be a strong feature of the album, and musically, it's generally, it just sort of does its own thing. Seth Sentry and his lyrics are basically what's on show. The rest is just dressing and trims.
Yep, gold bars.
He does have some funny lines. I'll definitely say that. Some of the lines are, the first time you hear them, puts a smile on your dial, regardless of how much you might be dispositioned against him.
If you're into video games, or everyone's played video games, you're going to pick up something along the way and just be like, and attached to it.
Yep, absolutely. So you loved it.
I loved it.
Why did you love it?
This is probably the first time I've heard an album that's more, pretty much is 95% rap.
Okay.
And it's a nice little flow. Let's take in for the example of Tiger King. Literally watched a documentary and made a 2.5 minute rap about it, which is pretty accurate and awesome. Even digging into Carol Baskin, which I love.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Fuck Carol Baskin.
Yeah. Okay, so you gravitated to the lyrics, obviously. That's all you can really gravitate to. So it was more the stories of the songs you thought were fun and interesting and fleshed out to some extent.
But they're also only written within a week as a challenge. So as the time goes by, I'm sure there's going to be a couple in there that may not suit the flavor, or you think are a little bit meh, but like that's almost just like brushing off the cobwebs.
If I'm listening to a song and you've spent a week on the song rather than 3 months, 12 months, but you're still putting it out there for me to listen to, I'm grading it on what the song is. I don't care how long you spent. Some of the best songs have been written in half an hour. Some of them have been written over the course of 9 months. I'm pretty sure. What song was written quickly? There was a Billy Joel song that was written basically on the spot by Billy Joel that's basically one of his biggest hits. I don't think it's Piano Man. I think it's a different one. But then by contrast, Metallica, do you know how long they spent on Enter Sandman's tonality for the guitar? 9 months. They spent 9 months just deciding on how the guitar should sound.
Metallica have internal problems.
But Enter Sandman is basically their titular song. If you ask most people who don't know much about Metallica to name a Metallica song, that might be the one that comes to mind.
Or Fuel, or Unforgiven too. And Break. We've been just talking shit. Okay, so first song we roll into is Blue Shell. There's a structure to the song that I really enjoy that just keeps throwing you off every step along the way. You come in, there's the introduction of Mario Kart's race with the beep beep, and you think it's going to take off like you got a boost, but you've missed that step and you're just cruising into it. It's coming in with the pianos and little coin drops as you're running around, and as soon as you almost hit that first corner, it's just a boost, just a slide and boost out.
I reckon this song has about, the lion's share of the video game references in the album as well.
It's hard to, we just tried to count them. I mean, Mario Kart, Fallout, League of Legends, Hitman, Dungeons and Dragons, and then we've got Game of Thrones, Splinter Cell, Street Fighter, which has one of my favorite just chunk of section out of it.
Yeah, Legend of Zelda as well. Yeah, it's basically crammed full, and it's not even just that. It's also video game tropes as well. Like the one line that comes to mind is "Kill boss, no new game plus." It's just such a video gamey type thing to say. I didn't mind this song mainly because of the tropiness of it. I'm not certain I like the song as it stands. I think there are stronger tracks on the album, but I mean I can't help but smile at some of the lyrics along the way. Next coin, make it to the next coin. You grind or you figure out the exploit. It's a nifty way of sort of spinning in video game culture into a line that relates fairly immediately to real life.
True, but then also he does the same thing with the video game reference into a disc almost for other people who may be negatively talking him down. So my line out of this is, the over rapid that you grow the hate, wait a minute, you phony rappers need to stay in your lane, catch it on the motorway, you're going to need a new coat of paint when I kick in your Toyota like a Sorry, to like kicking your Toyota
till it's totaled like a bonus stage. Yeah.
Like, come on.
It's fun.
It's so good.
It's fun. I never like the name of the album when you first said it to me last week, 2 weeks ago. Super fun, super cool treehouse. Sorry, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, but I kind of get the name. It's basically built into the songs. They're all just cool and fun, and that's kind of where it ends for me. So I get a lot of peripheral enjoyment. I absolutely enjoy all the video game references that are made, and the quirky line spinning that he does.
Yep. I mean, that's this out of the box thinking.
Yes. Beyond that, it then becomes a problem for me because you go back and listen to the track. Once you've had the gimmick of the line, I don't have a lot more to sink my teeth into, especially for tracks like Blue Shell. Like the first time I listened to it, that was the song that I would have picked out as my favorite on the album until I listened to the album 3 or 4 times, and it suddenly became mid-tier, which is a shame. It's a bit of a shame. I think there are stronger tracks on the album, which I think leaves Seth Sentry in good standing, to be honest. He got me in with the gimmick. I liked the gimmick the first time I listened to it. Relax. I only kind of dislike the song now, but it got me to listen to it with the set of ears that were more receptive.
I would like to see how you think about it by the end of the year.
Probably. The score, I reckon, if I'm going to predict what happens, I'll give it a score today, and I reckon in 6 months' time, I'll probably dock it a half point. That's my expectation.
I reckon it goes up.
Oh, all right.
Second track is the Tiger King. Oh, the drip god. Bomber jacket Tiger King with the mullet silk shirt. Taking a documentary which has probably been, I don't know how this is probably one of the most famous documentaries that came out in Netflix, dropping at the perfect time.
It's perforated the social consciousness, would be what I would say.
Yep, everyone knows who Joe Exotic is.
Yes.
And Carol Baskin.
Yes.
And who no one remembers the other guy. Fucking.
No. Who cares?
Who cares? He's not interesting. But just to take a documentary and make a song out of it. I feel like artists sometimes try to be too serious and get their point about how good they are and how they're living their life when they could just take a topic and run with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is truly just like an enjoyment exercise, I feel like, for Seth Sentry. He's like, let's pick out the funniest things about Tiger King and just try and shoehorn it into a song. I actually quite liked the humorous part at the end where, he's like, you're going to hear it on the news, so I'm just going to tell you anyway, the guy lost his arm. I enjoyed that. That was fun. This isn't one of my favorite tracks. This is an instant skip, but I enjoyed that comedic element sprinkled throughout.
Well, how was the music through it? Because I kind of find the bass guitar and the triangle with the flute in the background. Like the flute kind of brings out this weird Summer Night's Dreams. Weird. What's the animal that's like half goat and half human that runs around with a fucking flute? I could only imagine Joe Exotic being this person.
Yep. As
this character running around, and that flute in the background just kind of just pins this just a little bit perfect. And the triangle. I never heard the triangle so far in any of the albums. And I love it. Love it.
You probably haven't listened to the King Giz stuff often enough. I'm pretty sure they've thrown that in at some point, surely.
They have to, but this is just so prompt.
Yeah, I get it. The problem I have probably broadly with the album is the music. And I get that it's a rap album and that we're focusing on what he's saying and that these are clearly crowdsourced beats, as you were saying. But that doesn't mean that I have to enjoy it. I don't think there is enough interest in almost any of the tracks from a backing music perspective for me to even bear to comment. That's the main detractor for me for this album. I actually think broadly his lyrics are clever, well-written, self-deprecating, which is just refreshing from a rap album. And funny, genuinely funny. Like, genuinely, I laughed out loud listening to some of the lyrics, which I think is a big tick because I think primarily that's the angle he's going for. I think
he's all about jokes. I'm not a comedian, but you're still laughing.
Yeah, exactly right. So Yeah, that's all I'll say about the music, about the backing music.
Fair enough. Well, let's move along with the tracks and probably the themes of the songs then, instead of getting too much indulged in the music.
If you've picked up on something, still mention it.
Yep, sure. Well, Cabin Fever, I found this is like a fun version of Clippings.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, because he does put the body in the trunk and he puts them up on and makes them wear the glasses. Yeah, you're right.
Put them up again. Duct tape them to the tree, put glasses on them. I'm sitting at the bus stop, hiding my face behind a newspaper. Hiding behind a newspaper, but my face is on the front page. Talking pretty much like don't want to step to me because I'm just going to destroy you. I'm like a ghost, like a poltergeist. Boo! I was born and raised on a horror ride. There are lyrics in where that spot particularly, you get the haunted house sound in the background, and it just brings in like a boom, boom, boom towards the end, and before it goes boo. There's even like demonic sounding in the background of like a harmony to his own rapping, which adds this real creepy, awesome effect to it. It's like, don't mess with me, the devil's behind me.
I know I just shat on the music, but I think the backing track for this song is the best one on the album.
Yep, this is my number one.
And this is my favorite. This is my favorite song on the album, easily. It has just the funniest start. You need to shave your bush because I ain't trying to beat around it. I don't know women. And then at the very next line, so I chuckled at that, obviously. And the very next line is like, I checked the mic like a prostate. What the fuck line is that? I check the mic like a prostate. No. And then you can hear him just go, oh shit, that's not right. I say frosty like a cupcake. Oh wait. Taking rappers out like a lunch steak. Oh, for fuck's sake. Like, it's that section, I reckon, is just comfortably the most comedic and just the silliest in a way that I really quite liked. So this song is easily my favorite. And there's obviously that line later where he cuts the backing track. He's watching Tarantino.
Oh, yes. Do you want to say it?
Watching Tarantino and reading a porno magazine, I'm spilling seed like Michael J. Fox at a fucking parrot feeder, which is just the worst visual you could ever hope to have. Something about reading it slow it sort of is worse, isn't it?
It really... It paints a picture.
Yeah, it paints a picture, but he just goes quickly enough that you can sort of get away from it.
Yeah. That's the part where it has a demonic voice in the background. Is like, this is dark and horror, but it's pretty true.
Yeah.
You can't get upset over something that's that true.
Yeah, this was easily the best song on the album for mine.
I mean, Michael J. Fox also makes fun of himself. Have you seen him do the camera ad where it's got the shutter on and shutter off?
I haven't, but I mean, the punchline's there, isn't it?
Mate, if he's got it, he might as well run with it.
Sure.
Yeah, sweet. Cabin Fever is probably my favorite. It's grimy, it's dark and horror with just fun lines. I'm going to say that for everyone. I got to stop saying that. I really need to stop saying there are fun lines in this.
Yeah, all right. I promise. Let's have a pact. We're not going to say the word fun again for the rest of the podcast. How's that?
I'll try my best.
All right. Titan?
Can't remember my cat's name.
Yeah, I quite liked that through line.
Yep.
The pet's name. Is it Paul, Liam, or whatever the sets of names is that he says? Jessica Chastain? Like, why would that be the name? I quite liked I'm still listening to Straight Outta Compton that, I'm still yelling out, fuck the police. But then I'm calling them because I didn't get invited to the party next door is kind of just a theme that I think is quite funny.
Yep. I'm still as petty as I was in the 10th grade.
Yeah, give me a slice of cake or some shit. Yeah.
Titan is... I don't know what to really say. It's the sound through this was pretty good. I mean, the pianos are awesome, controlling with the pressure that they do. Like, so they're just playing one note. So one chord, but it's off the pressure of the pianist, and you start out low, and then it gets dun dun dun, and it gets just heavier as it goes along, and that effect really brings it through with the lyrics because everything just seems to line up so nicely with how he's portraying with the lyrics. this is a good example how he could just get a sound and he can work with it so smoothly. Fun thing, Titan.
You said the word.
I did, but this is a fun fact.
Doesn't count. All right. What's the fun fact?
Titan is the name of his cat.
I quite like that. That's good. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that fun fact. That was worth breaking our pact like literally 30 seconds after making it. I'm not sad.
I'm not sad.
This is probably my second favorite song on the album, to be honest.
For some reason, I felt like this was a little Eminem, Slim Shady club songs that they bring out, especially with the club in the background.
Well, think that chorusy bit, the I'm not sad, you must be sad. Why? Who told you I was? That feels like an Eminem kind of thing, doesn't it?
Like stumbling through, trying to think on the spot when someone's confronted you. Like, why are you sad? But like, I'm not sad.
Yeah. I quite liked that. I also liked basically one of the first lines on the song. It got me into the mood for it, and I know I had Tony in the car at the time, and she laughed at it. She genuinely thought it was comedic, you know. I don't care. Well, actually, I do. I'm very sensitive to criticism, and the comedic delivery on that line and on one of the lines later is just done perfectly, I think.
What was the line later?
We should recommend each other therapists, because that should be hilarious.
My lyric from this was, I'm like a solid snake eating over this sink because I don't want to wash a plate.
Yeah, that's a good line. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, you're going to attach to something.
Yeah, and you got to throw in the video game reference, obviously.
Yes.
Of course.
Of course. Another lyric in I'm Not Sad.
All right, go.
I'm not dumb. I hit the nail on the thumb. And my cat was right about me all along.
Yeah. I hit the nail on the thumb. I am dumb. Yeah. This is a fun song. And I know that they're talking about depression as like an underlying theme that you can come back and reflect on more seriously. But I think it's comedic first. And so I think you can smile your way through it.
How else do you talk about something that's probably very sensitive to a lot of people?
Dark humor is I think, a good thing.
Yep.
Cheap shots?
Cheap shots. I swear the start of this sounds like a PlayStation startup. Yes. And then straight into the funeral song. This is definitely, I'm shooting. I am taking pop shots at people.
Is
You're
this
never going to survive.
Oh, this is the song
where... bring the whole SEAL team. More XP for
the skill tree.
Yep.
This is the song where he wakes up at his own funeral after the doctors had put crayons in his butt, and he, pretends to be a zombie whilst his girlfriend's screaming, saying, "I just want your brains."
Yeah, ease up. You're like a ease up. You're like a Pisa. Sorry. You're like Pisa. Ease up.
Yeah. This song's all right, and I mean the bit at the end kind of makes you laugh. I want pepperoni.
Which also makes an appearance in Tiger King.
Yeah. Wait, what does?
The part where he goes, after the dude hangs up the phone, he goes, "I better get it."
Yeah, better get it.
That's also in Tiger King. They use the same snip in there.
I better get it.
I better get it.
I missed that entirely. I'll have to dig around for it. My understanding is that was Video Game Donkey. That was that particular prank call. If you're not aware, just a YouTube personality in video game meme culture, basically. And enough said on that. This song's all right. I don't mind it. I don't think it's as clever as other ones on the album, but I would have this towards the top.
Is Donkey on Twitch and all that, I'm guessing?
I assume so. I mean, I don't go enough onto Twitch, but he's definitely a fairly well-known YouTube personality.
What nationality?
Beats me. I don't care about that stuff.
I'm
just put fun content on YouTube I can watch when I'm bored at home at 9 p.m.
Okay, fine. I'm just wondering because Sentry did probably one of the longest live streams of Twitch for over 150 hours.
Nearly a week.
So every time he would get a subscriber, he would add 4 minutes and 20 seconds to the time. And so every time it was up to the people that were watching and wanted to be a part of his subscription, decided to drag out to 158 hours.
Bloody hell.
Mm.
Well, you got to do something to stay relevant, I guess.
Oh, they loved it.
He probably didn't. He's probably happy.
I think he talks about getting to know the community and getting to know his fans a lot more and having this strong connection with them, and they get to see how he works when he's writing lyrics and preparing for music. So they almost look into the life of an artist.
Yeah, a lot of artists are actually taking to Twitch to do that sort of thing. So Brendan Urie, I might have mentioned a while ago, he has a fairly substantial Twitch following. The only reason I sort of bring it up is I was alerted to it because he played a Panic at the Disco song. We're all just the Panic at the Disco members, but it was a thrash metal track. Went for 90 seconds and has Brendan Urie screaming his guts out basically for the entire thing. I'm like, this is amazing. You could never release this commercially, but it's just so perfectly in its niche here. And you get that ton of engagement. I mean, well, obviously Charlie XCX from a couple of weeks ago or last week, she built a lot of her tracks just on community feedback. I kind of wish that maybe Seth Sentry had sourced his own backing tracks rather than getting, Cryptic Thoughts 87 to submit it or whatever, right? Like,
I think that just shows how good he is at what he does.
True, but I still have to listen to the damn things.
True. Just keep that in the background and like, oh yeah, sure. But it adds some sort of flavor and character story to it. Moving on. Brambles.
I like this track.
Head bopping, fat bass.
Yeah, it's a slightly more serious track, so it does stand out amongst the rest. It's the first track that I would say is more serious than comedic. It still has a comedic element to it, but it's not primary. So the comedic element in my mind is that line where he's like, eat a spliff, smoke a book, read a fish, overcooked. Now I'm flying. Now I'm soaring. Oh, wait, now I'm diving. Kamikaze pilot. Like, then it gets a bit more serious from there, obviously. But I think this is the first one that takes that slightly darker turn. It's interesting because of that, I think. But he still has that comedic element. So it feels very much like the rest of the album. It doesn't feel out of place. This is an alright track.
What do you think about the guitar sort of strumming and the blues vibe? And it's got like that almost pull on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to sort of reinsert comment from earlier. The backing tracks are serviceable, right, for rap to be the primary function. If the words aren't good, the song's not good. Thankfully, I think the words are good in this song. I think this is lyrically a strong track.
Yep. Probably onto the most serious song of the album, Denial, which is diving a lot into pretty much the George Floyd moment. This is lo-fi with rain in the background and that sharp hit of the piano that kind of like strikes you a little bit and gives you this,
You wouldn't want this to be a bombastic track.
No, definitely.
Yeah, you wouldn't want the horn section to flare up, the big band to kick in, and it wouldn't be quite right.
Yeah, it's a very sad song, and unfortunately the part of the fact that he can't really give his opinion without being criticized, even though he thinks it's horribly wrong.
I think he does a fairly good job of navigating those waters on this song, because obviously the initial verse is disgust at what's happened, and then the second part is the difficult interplay his position in life's hierarchy has relative to that circumstance. So I actually think the second verse is probably more compelling, because obviously the first verse has been said in many different ways and resonated throughout the world 12 months ago for good reason. But the second verse is sort of the novelty. It's how does Seth Sentry fit into a world where that's a reality? And so his moniker, kill a black man in front of, cameras, imagine what they're doing behind them, is sort of the connecting piece throughout. And then it's reflecting on the issue, reflecting on a fairly complex emotional state that he must be in, wanting to say something, as you said, but maybe not having the right jurisdiction, or at least his thinking not have the right jurisdiction.
Because of, obviously,
skin color.
Yeah, something's horrible. You can't say anything because you can't. Obviously, they think you cannot relate, which is also horrible and damaging to try and fix the problem anyway. Let's get past this downer onto Castlevania.
This track probably has one of the more cohesive stories, I would say, but it's silly as hell.
Silly as hell. And for Castlevania, no one knows, it's probably has so many versions in the video game.
Castlevania is a long-running series depicting a guy going into a castle, killing Dracula, and a whip is his primary weapon. Thankfully, not in the sense of driving a car, but an actual literal whip. Although if you ask Seth Sentry, he plays Castlevania, bitch, so he can actually drive a car and whip it around, and that's his thing.
I mean, this is pretty awesome with the violin and the pianos. And leaving in lyrically, this is a part that had his favorite lyric in it, which was, I don't want a wingma, little Nicky ain't a saint. Now, this you could take in three different ways. One is, Seth Sentry used to go to St. Kilda games with his grandma because she was a fan, he was not. But it just seemed to be at the time where St. Kilda was losing game after game after game.
That's basically been the case since 1950 through to today.
Okay, controversy. And then you got Nicky Wingmar, who used to play for the Saints, but then went to the Bulldogs. So there's also that kind of connection there with Wingmar and not a Saint. And then you've got Adam Stanler's Little Nicky, who's not a Saint. Like, you can see it in three different ways. This is clever now that you see the lyric being explained by the artist that you go, there's layers.
It's also had probably one of my favorite lyrics in terms of the visual picture that it represented. Not him jacking off, but the line where he's like Jon Snow with a crossbow and a poncho hunting for a cheap meal in a Costco. You can picture that guy, the guy who just looks like a bum going through the frozen food aisle. Just, you stay away from him because you just think based on his look that he stinks, and he's picking out just the cheapest, dirtiest, like, frozen meal from the. You can see it. It's quite perfect, and there's an interesting little Star Wars reference in there. So the tauntaun, and then the. So obviously, I can't remember which Star Wars it is. I think it's Episode 5. They cut the beast open and they sleep inside it to survive the. That's the tauntaun.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Not a massive fan. Seen it. Can't remember.
Just saying, he loves his references.
Yes, and it's perfectly fine. It's going to attach to people for sure. What else you got from Castlevania?
Look, that's about it. Like, the story's funny. The idea of wearing a gorilla suit and trying to claim that there's asbestos in it, and your boss says, "Look, just man up." I think it's funny. The story's generally silly. There's not really a lot of takeaway. It's just him having fun. Yep. Oh, I said the word. Anyway,
it's not even a fun fact. Well, that is Castlevania is the single for the album.
Oh, bugger! Yeah. Should have been Cabin Fever.
I reckon so too, or Blue Shell. Quite frankly, Wingdings. No one knows what a wingding is. It's a fried chicken at a shitty corner store.
You see, I didn't think that that's what it was. So Wingdings is famously a non-font in MS Word. So, you know when people say Wingdings in font language, it's basically just a bunch of images. That's Wingdings, and there's like Wingdings 1, 2, and 3, and it's all just random images like planes and balls and like candy and just shit. Like, that's actually, I think, given his memeage, I think that's what that's referencing. Not chicken, but literally an MS Word font.
You know, that's awesome, because the first thing I wrote down was circus opera. It sounds like a wingding from Microsoft Word.
This song had a lot of fun lines in it too. I like all of them, and I know that this podcast has basically turned into, what was your favorite line from the song? But I mean, that's what this is. I mean, my level of enjoyment is predicated on how clever Seth Sentry can be with his turn of phrase, because there's just nothing else there for mine. But then he has lines like, I'm watching Peep Show alone in my tuxedo, or fucking, I have an encyclopedic knowledge of psychotropic ingredients, which is just a silly thing to say.
Or I'm on keto. Cheetos, burritos.
Oh, yeah, Oreos, Cheetos, Doritos. I've got Doritos. Or 3D printing my weenie for you to suck while my CD spins. Also comes to mind. Or another one, like going back to like the skegs. You know, go and kill me, I'll respawn, then I'll come stumbling out of the Valhalla mead halls.
Yes.
I mean, I love the references. I think this is an entirely fun song. I actually didn't like this song until I started having to write my notes down for it. I'm like, oh, let's see if there's any actual good lines in this. Oh, that's pretty funny. That's pretty... Actually, this song's got a lot of good lines, and it's pretty good.
It's hard to go, once you start reading, you go, there is so much in here. I mean, but do you see the style and how well he is of linking words that you don't think would be able to rhyme together? So, Mead Hall and Respawn.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of take the tongue-in-cheek approach that's a rapping rhyme, you know.
Yeah.
You've absolutely stretched it as far as it can go.
That's the aim.
He's rhyming bake with, you know, condensate. Like, Great. Yeah, this song's good. I don't like the idea of stretching rhymes, but again, it doesn't need to rhyme. It just has to be clever and interesting to listen to, and this one was.
Yeah, sweet. Let's fade out with Gatorade Bong.
What are your thoughts?
Fuck your feelings, fuck your blogs, fuck your opinions, fuck your feed, fuck your judgment.
So I get the impression this song is about general angst that he has. He used to be a heavy drug taker, but he's not so much anymore. But every now and then, if he needs to take the edge off reality, he will steal a bit of hose from his neighbours and shove it into his Gatorade Bong. The most unfortunately titled song name I think we have had.
I still know how to make a sweet Gatorade Bong. But anyone who's bought weed at a young age would have made a Gatorade Bong or a Powerade Bong or Coffee's Breaker. Anything you can get from the corner store, that's all it is. But this is a chilled lounge, sort of soft, soulful blues throughout it, with a Phil Collins drums.
Yeah,
and trumpets.
And moderately serious. I don't really get any humor from this track.
I think this is where he just goes, fuck you, I don't care. I'm going to fade out. I'm going to enjoy it. And if you didn't like what I liked, then too bad.
It's funny too, because with that fuck you mentality, this song probably was one that I liked less compared to the others. I don't think I can get past the cringe of Gatorade Bong as the central theme for the song. This isn't bad. I don't think it's good, though.
Fair enough. We have come to the end. As a person who enjoys the hip-hop, I put this very high on my list of enjoyment. The fact that it's low on chorus or repetitive words. Fun lyrics, catchy stuff, nostalgic, massive amount of video game references, and actually just culture references throughout. You're going to laugh. You're just going to laugh. Get past the point of the music if you can't just remember. His fans sent it in, and he showed his ability to work around that to produce something that is quite entertaining.
Yeah.
And I cannot get enough of this album. I strongly suggest listening to it. Matthew, what is your score? I'm going to say 6.5.
I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. The album is good. The problem is I can't really rate it higher because I will genuinely not go out and listen to it again. But the time I had with it was fun. I know I've said that word a lot, but ultimately that's what this is.
It is a very fun album.
Yep. Yeah. It's hard to not be smiling at the end of it. But, you know, the old saying goes, I need something with a bit more teeth. I need some song structure that's a bit more interesting.
Cabin Fever.
That doesn't have teeth. That's the fucking comedy song.
But you just imagine a cartoon character just going
like a Rick and Morty episode, basically.
Something like that. Bugs Bunny.
Oh, that'd be kind of. Bugs Bunny's a little bit too cute to be, you know, spilling seed like Michael J. Fox at a fucking parrot feeder. Now there's an image you won't get out of your head. Anyway, should we move on?
Beating my, what have I been doing all week? Hanging around the house, beating my dick like I'm UFC.
Oh, yes, that line. What song was that from?
That was the one you were talking about, pleasuring himself.
No, well, the fucking watching Tarantino and reading a Porno magazine.
That's the same song.
Man, he's jacking it off hard in Cabin Fever. I mean, and I guess with a song title like Cabin Fever, who wouldn't? Next week
is
my choice.
Matthew's, but Matthew, what is the album for next time?
We're finally doing it. We're finally going to do that album. It's time.
Weezer?
Grow up. Weezer. Like, I'd have this sort of introduction for what next week's album's going to be with have it be Weezer. Now, we'll do Van Weezer, I don't know, on our own time, I think.
Yeah, I think so too, please. What is next week?
We're going to listen to 1000 Gex by 100 Gex.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a fucking long time.
It's finally happening!
All right, we've been CDR. Please leave comments on what you thought about the album and interesting facts about the artist.
Put your favorite lyric in the comments.
Favorite lyrics for sure about from this album. And we'll catch you next time. We've been CDR. See ya.
Ciao. Can I say something?
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Cunts.